Let's see, yeah, we got a good number of stuff. Let's see here, got Animal Crossing for the Switch on the top, which might explain why I didn't watch a whole lot of anime, but you know, given that it's been 2 weeks since I last talked about stuff, and I think absolutely all that stuff that I'll talk about I actually watched for the last week's. Speaking of last week's, these are the Hentai DVDs. They still are, but they were too. You know, these were the Hentai DVDs. Well, DVD and Blu-ray. Sizzling Sublings, which I guess has an okay to show on camera back. But you know, we don't go further than that just because there's a very real chance that there's some naughty bits deeper in. Now we'll just get to the stuff that all started arriving at different times. Look at my brother for tonight's streaming stuff, but oh yes, we have one non-anime thing here, Sonic the Hedgehog the movie, the newer one, which you know, I kind of liked. I had pretty I think I explained why it's pretty good, because you know, if you looked at the trailers for this movie, there's a possibility that you looked at it and thought, oh, James Carrey looks fun, and maybe he's the one that carries the movie, but he's not. And it's not because he's bad. He's actually a pretty entertaining character, but also kind of scary. But Sonic the Hedgehog is actually pretty good in this one as well. So, good praise for that one. Very quick, and I haven't rewatched it since, but, you know, my brother hasn't gotten to see it. Maybe I'll show it to him. But let's get digging into these, because we've got anime, and I guess it's not that much anime, is it? Just the three things, but yeah, let's go in the order. So we got Senryu Girl, Poetry Succeeds. So some sort of poetry related Senryu. Okay. I am not finding the bottom of that box. There we go. So looking quickly at the back, I see a region A, I see 12 episodes, I see an English dub, and where are the special features? That's clean opening, closing animations. Be about what I would expect. They're all on one disc, so that makes me think they are probably shorter length episodes. This over here says 180 minutes. For 12 episodes, that's about, I mean, like 12 times 10 would be 120. So, you know, that's about 10, 11, 12 minutes an episode. So they're shorter. But we got that. Yeah, okay, I don't know what order to do these, so we'll just do them in the order here. The Quintessential Quintuplets. I see a thing here like maybe there's going to be a season 2 at some point, and it will fit in this box as well. I'd say this means I can put it in the box that's waiting for other parts to come out before I rip it, except I'm not going to get around to ripping it because I'm just lazy like that, apparently. I was wondering if I accidentally took a little piece off, but I didn't. Now, sextuplets would be 6, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quintuplets, I think. I don't remember. The clue there. We wanted to look at the back here because this says it's region A and B. I see an English dub, DVD and Blu-ray version. That's starting to become more important to note because, you know, if you needed a DVD version, I don't know. I think that's enough reading of that stuff. No, I forgot the special features. I've already got my hands full. Well, let's put these down here so I can just go in the order. So my guess is these are the quintuplets, and Don't know if the guy is a love interest or a brother. He doesn't seem like he'd be related to them because he's got standard traditional Japanese stuff, and they've got all variants of bright well, I was going to say red spectrum, but then I started thinking pink spectrum because it's kind of like Pink Diamond from Steven Universe. This is all the same stuff, which means I can see the special features here. Episode, commentary, Japanese, promo videos, and commercial. Both trailers, opening and ending songs. Sleeper hit of 2019. I mean, I do have to admit that with a big box like that, that makes it look very interesting. They're putting a whole lot into it, and you know, they kind of look pretty good. But you know, the house, I can be easily turned off by a pretty shitty personality. So we got, I think, the DVD versions and then new Blu-ray versions. I probably could have read the back, or maybe even like more than just this. They'll love him forever. Yeah, they are. Quintuplets is definitely a 5 twin, I guess. We've got special stuff in here, so that's pretty cool. So this, I usually don't open these up because that's some pretty tightly sealed plastic. But I am admittedly a bit curious about this because this is one of those I forgot what they're called. It's not poster boards, but it's kind of like this thing up here, except I've got a bunch of smaller ones. I think my first one ever was from accidentally dropped the camera there. That's interesting. You know, first time in many years I've ever done that. But I didn't expect, you know, I didn't remember the things in here. But yeah, the first one of these that I got was with, assuming this is one of those. Yeah, it is. I don't know the character. This one is in the thing, so what I might do is put this aside and file that separately. Put it with the other ones. But yeah, close to the Homer Kimmy one, which also had the metal foil thingy for Madoka Movie 3. Anyways, let's go on to the last but not least, Promare. I keep thinking I can read this because that looks like an OXP, but I don't know what the fuck that is, and that might not be a P. All I know is this is a Steelbook version, which is kind of neat. It means, you know, I don't usually order Steelbook versions, so the fact that I did for this is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I order it if it's available, and then whether or not I order it if it's re-released is up in the air. Usually depends on if I think, oh, I really ought to get the Steelbook version of that just because. So I'm trying to look at here. I see a lot of bonus features. I know this is a movie of some sort. Yeah, oh, that's whatever. I've seen the name float up a couple of times, but I don't know what the general impression of it is. It looks interesting. Okay, so that wasn't, this one wasn't sufficiently in the thing. Looks like a sword fight between human and robot, maybe? Okay, that's DVD, and this is Blu-ray. There, that's a little bit better. Alright, here's this week's anime DVD collection update. So, I finished Ruby Hachi. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I didn't talk about having finished it. I probably mentioned it while I was cooking omelets. But, you know, here's an official review. I finished watching it, and I thought it ended okay. It's not... It didn't end with a blow-your-mind sort of thing. But it did end with a kind of escalation for its own thing, and doing its own thing, and I thought it was just kind of nice. I'm just trying to make sure I'm not forgetting anything in particular. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to mention that I didn't already mention before. You know, it didn't rate that high, but I found that even though it does play with some of the yaoi innuendo, that would be guy on guy if you don't know, it doesn't do so in a way that's as in your face as a lot of shows where things get forceful and they're just trying to make sure you don't not notice it. And I guess that was my guess as to maybe why it wasn't rated so well, is because it probably seems like it could be a lot of things and brings in fans of those, but they don't get that. So it looked like it could be a mecha, but it's not really a mecha. It looks like it could be a very yaoi inspired show, but it's not very yaoi. Things like that. So, yeah. Overall, I thought it was a pretty fun watch. I'm just going to do a cycling out of these rotating. Next up, I have Day to Life Season 3. Now, I didn't finish this. I only watched the first 6 episodes. So, one of the interesting things about that is the first 6 episodes are actually only all the episodes on the first disc, which is a difference for Funimation. This is Funimation, right? Trying to tell if those say Funimation, but I don't know. Anyways, it's interesting because it pretty much means, you know, usually for the Blu-ray releases, DVDs may have 7 episodes on the first disc and 6 on the second, but the Blu-ray would have 8 or 9 on the first disc and the rest on the second, however many that ends up being, which could be as low as 4. And I guess if they have 12 episodes, maybe they do 8 and 4 or something like that. But this one seemed to balance them out a little bit more, which is just an interesting observation. I'm wondering if it's a change in prioritization of quality of episodes or something like that. Which makes me wonder if it's not Funimation, especially since... I guess the easiest way to tell for certain is to open it up. Oh yeah, I see the little Funimation insert, because I'm having trouble seeing the little small things on the side, and I don't remember what the Funimation one looks like, and that one doesn't look like Funimation. Anyways, blah 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 blah. So the main reason I haven't continued is mostly because of Animal Crossing, but there's also this thing where I think it's... I kind of vaguely remember, you know, there's issues with kind of some of the simplicity of the characters, and this isn't just Season 3, this is just the anime overall. But the premise is really good. The characters are actually, you know, an interesting mix of them. So there's flaws, but nothing that I thought was too killer. I don't remember a whole lot of side characters outside of the main ones that would appear on the cover, and even then I didn't remember some of them very well. But yeah, okay. Now I'm keeping track of the characters on the cover itself a little bit better. Where am I? So there are some characters that are just kind of mean-spirited in this season, and I don't remember if they were like that in the previous one, but it's kind of like, ugh. Like a character, they could be staring at a character and talking to him, and something happens to another character just slightly off screen, and they're like, oh, how could you do that to them? And it's just like, the fuck? You were staring at him, you hopeless piece of shit. They're just characters looking for a reason to hate the main character. And I think I've speculated before that there could be elements of that which are kind of related to, like, I remember a scene from early on in, I think it's Maburaho, where, it turns out that the hottest girls in school are interested in our main character, and all the other classmates are, like, flicking lead at him because they're just jealous of him, and I just can't help but think, is this really a mindset that a lot of fucking people have? Because it's entitled. You can be jealous that a person has this thing without really holding it against them, especially when you can tell that the character isn't really trying to do that. And to be fair to some of the characters in here, some of the main things they did to the main character were shenanigans caused by events that happened in it that were not entirely his fault, but those characters kind of have me... I think part of the problem is I've lost the steam of remembering that these spirits are not just shitty human beings, especially since a lot of them become better people. Even the really bad one who didn't get their powers sealed wasn't that bad. They were less bad than the other baddie, but I don't remember what the other baddie was. I just remember the show had neat stuff like that. Season 3, so far, I'm trying to say if I would say it is whether or not it's clever. And I guess that's just Data Live in general. It's kind of always a little bit on the edge, so some people would find it and say, oh, that's interesting, and that would probably be because they haven't been exposed to that before. But for people who have it, maybe is on the edge of whether or not it feels like it's doing something fresh and new. I think it's fine, but like I said, I've just not prioritized watching any of it because of Animal Crossing, which I will talk about after I talk about Frozen 2. Although I am going to mention real quick that my Friday friend, we are going through the saga of Tanya the Evil. Now, I only have the series. I haven't been able to see the movie. I mean, I probably could. Might even be able to find it. I was going to say Crunchyroll, but actually, especially since I'm watching it dubbed, and Funimation dubs it, I think, it probably means it would be on Funimation's site, which I don't have access to. But, I don't know. I'm still waiting for it to come out on DVD Blu-ray, like pretty much every other good anime you've seen that you're like, hey Giga, why haven't you watched that yet? But, yeah. We're halfway through it. It's a good series. Love the series. I was a bit distracted with Animal Crossing, rewatching it, but no. I still liked having it on in the background. So, I watched Frozen 2. I think I mentioned 2 weeks ago that it was maybe not a priority to watch, but definitely a curiosity. And it's a bit of a mix. Not a bad mix. So, there's a lot of interesting ideas in it for sure. Ideas to take it, what to do, etc. But the main issue with it was that I guess it wasn't quite sure what kind of story beat it wanted to be, because it was kind of tripping over what it had established in the previous movie, and at the same time, well, I mean, let's not tell any lies. Elsa's the one who's the interesting one. I mean, they make I'm forgetting everybody's name, including, I think it's Olaf. Because I want to call him Pilaf, but that's not it. But Elsa's the magical one, the one that's like, oh, well, those would be the cool powers to have. Whereas, why am I having so much trouble remembering the sister's name? Anyways, the show suffers from a little bit of a problem of wanting her to be there at crucial moments, and so there are some parts of the movie where it just has to move her somewhere. And I don't want to give too many details, but it's basically, they're like, oh no, we need her to be here to solve this problem instead of something else along the same lines. I think it suffers a little bit in terms of in its quest to create a villain, although this one you can tell has no villains, more like a antagonistic discovery, I guess, or maybe an antagonistic legacy. It's just, it's kind of similar to the problem from the first one, where it's a bit of a twist for the sake of a twist, but it's not as much of a twist in this one, and it's also just not that compelling on its own. I think you'd watch this one more for a lot of the other stuff, or at least I did. For me, Olaf was probably the best part of this movie, just because he kind of had this perspective that was still upbeat, positive from the first one, but a realization that maybe there should be some cynicism involved in there. So it was kind of growing on him, and I never found him to be annoying. So it's probably not like Tomater from Cars, which I think most people didn't like. Or at least they didn't like him in Cars 2, I think. Whereas I kind of enjoyed the fact that he grew as a character, but I can admit that the fact that he spent most of the movie not being aware of the need to grow was kind of a downside. Whereas Olaf just kind of grows while maintaining his positive personality, which I actually found to be very fun and endearing. I think I kind of have a bit of an issue with the spirits and this inconsistency with how they need to interact with and counter each of them, I guess. And it's not necessarily something that's done separately, so it's not done in a very storytelling, boring, go to each step. It's more like interactions happen and you learn more about them, but it feels like there's an inconsistency in terms of what they are, I guess. Even though they are all really neat ideas. It's weird. So, as you can see, it's not like a perfect movie, and none of the songs are quite there in terms of the songs from the first one. I mean, let's face it. Let It Go, I think everybody at this point, they probably both love the song and they want people to let it go. Ha ha ha. Want to Build a Snowman is a fun, endearing way to start it. It's kind of, the first one has those, but Let It Go is a powerful song. Like, I think there's a song in here that's probably supposed to be powerful, sort of like that. Different emotional goal, but the main issue is the song in this one is about the character telling himself to do what they need to do, and this isn't I can't choose to do this, it's that you can't choose to do nothing sort of thing. So it's not a bad song. It's a song that causes them to motivate themselves to do something that they need to do even though they're going through hard times. Whereas Let It Go from Frozen 1, I think part of the reason that one is so great is because the flow of the song and the purpose of the song is really... There's a lot of conflict going on there, even though it's not really necessarily about that, because Let It Go represents our main character embracing a side of herself that she's been afraid of, which is empowering, but at the same time, even though we appreciate the empowering, we also know that it actually means something for her to be doing that, because we, like she, don't know if it's actually a good thing for her to be embracing that part of herself, even though we suspect it is and we want it to be. So the song does a really good job of taking the audience through that, and I think that's why that song worked out so much in the first movie and why this one didn't quite have anything that measured up to it. It's not that any of the songs are bad, but none of them are like, fuck yeah! Let's do this! I don't know if we should, but let's do it. You know, if that makes sense. So, you know, overall, I guess that's why I didn't hear much about Frozen 2. There's issues with it. There's nothing about those issues that necessarily make it unwatchable. It may make it unsatisfying to some people, but there's a lot of neat things that go in there. You know, the songs are fun. I'm trying to remember any of the comedy, but I can barely remember anything right now other than Blue Rose Genetics and Animal Crossing. You know, I've been maybe sleep deprived a little bit. But anyways, so yeah, let's talk about Animal Crossing. So I don't just have a physical copy, and this is one of the interesting things about having skipped doing an anime DVD collection update past weekend is that I actually had Animal Crossing digital version for a couple days, and then this physical version arrived Friday. And see, my thoughts were, I want a physical version, but the physical version won't arrive in time. My motivation for getting Animal Crossing New Horizons finally is that a lot of family members in the family chat have been talking about it with each other, visiting each other here and there, and you know, coworkers did it like a couple of weeks before even all that stuff, if not a month or two. Man, the time flies. And I was like, you know, right now I'm getting in a bit of a Pokemon slump. I'm not feeling like vegging on certain things, so I feel like I'm okay with vegging on Animal Crossing. And it's interesting because, you know, like I like Minecraft because when you do stuff in there, you do stuff in there. So a lot of the self-actualization in Minecraft tends to be you self-actualizing yourself, and that's one of the things I think people find enjoyable about the game. Now I say that, but a lot of people like to play it modded, which is completely going against some of the stuff, but that's probably because there's also a lot of potential for doing other things and self-actualizing in other ways, and that's a whole different discussion. But Minecraft is interestingly different from Animal Crossing because Animal Crossing is a mostly creative endeavor. Now, it's not necessarily that, but Minecraft, while it has that in it, there's a lot of functional stuff for you to do in Minecraft. To build walls around your complex, to build machines to help you mine this or that, or to build elaborate tunnels so that you make sure that you're getting good coverage and find diamonds better, or something like that. Usually, you can identify in Minecraft, you can have activities that you do because you just started a new world with your friends. They're all off bickering and having fun, but you're going to make sure that there's farming so that when they want to eat food, there's food available for them. There's apples there. There's wheat there. You know, I like, you know, setting up civilization, I guess, for lack of better words. And Animal Crossing doesn't really have that, so it's more about where you're going to place stuff. Who do you want to interact with? How are you going to design things, etc., etc. And there's still a building things and a collecting things aspect to it, but it is more strictly about the collecting for collecting's sake, and partially it is collecting for the sake of building things that look unique based on what you do. So basically, again, Animal Crossing is a little more of a creative endeavor than a game that I normally focus on. And that has a good impact, or a notable impact on the collectible part of it, where, okay, there's collecting things for the sake of collecting of those things, and then there's collecting things for materials, but the game goes much lighter on the materials on you as you progress. And I don't quite think that progression at this point requires materials so much as I use materials to do things in order to do things. If saying it in that vague way has any semblance of understanding within it whatsoever. And so, you have to understand that when I'm zombing out on this, it's because I have goals above and beyond what the game tries to put in front of me right here and right now. And so, you know, this is my first Animal Crossing game, but I've seen enough stuff to know that Tom Nook is quite a crook. Not really, the game tries to play it off It's him being quite light, but, you know, he does end up offering you something. Say, oh, did I forget to mention that you're going to be a billion bells in debt? Oops. Well, you'll pay it off eventually. Now, the truth of the matter is he does have a very generous plan, but, you know, a lot of people still imagine Animal Crossing as Tom Nook manufacturing things so that your character is in indentured servitude, but you just think that you're living a fun, happy life building your own home. Or in the case of New Horizons, building a deserted island village, I guess. But, you know, so there's that familiarity with the game, and then there's some familiar with some aspects of this, and like I mentioned, I'm going into depths of some things just because the knowledge was tantalizing. I don't know if that's the right word. I am blanking right now. But, like I said, my family was already into it, so my goal was, okay, I'm a couple weeks, maybe even a month behind my own mom. She's not a big video game person, but, you know, she's still playing Animal Crossing. And it's like, okay, well, if they come and visit my island, they're just going to see an island full of tents and trees. So my goal was to rocket forward as much as I could. Now, Animal Crossing is based on time passed in real life. There's a, you know, you can do stuff with adjusting your Nintendo Switch clock, but as a general rule of thumb, I'm trying not to do that. In fact, actually, I've not done that, because if I can do everything I want in this game without ever turning the clock forward, then I never have to set it back or worry about what it means to set it forward, set it back. I can just sit there and do the right thing. It's sort of like my limitations in the manipulation of Dynamax raid battle den stuff is I'm only willing to do the purple-red stuff because that's just an oversight in Nintendo's way of saving the game. I'm fine with that, but when it comes to manipulating what appears in there by using time skip stuff, I'm fine. I'm not going to do that. And likewise, for this one, I'm trying to figure out how much I can do without time skipping, and blue roses are, of course, an issue, but not necessarily strictly needed for what I wanted. Because the truth of the matter is, I have my resident services building up this past Sunday, which was the Sunday at, you know, the 8th day playing the game. And that's the quickest you can do it. You know, you have real life things where it's like, okay, well, you have to wait for villagers to move in, then the next one, then the next one. Each of those will happen on one day, then the next day, then the next. But I've done a good job of at least keeping ahead of the game enough such that everything keeps flowing. And at this point, I'm actually on par with that level of progression with my mom, you know, compared to my mom. Whereas I think because she didn't talk to Nook, she didn't discover Project K, and she didn't start the stuff that's required to do that until the same day I had actually started to do that. So, you know, I'm going forward pretty fast. And at this point, yeah. Anyways, if I were to guess, there's a hopeful chance that I will actually be finished with Project K Monday or Tuesday, but there's a possibility that that is not the case, because there is a bit of an optimistic notion I have of that, and that might not really be the case. The only way I'll be able to find out is by continuing to move forward and then finding out Monday or Tuesday that, oh, okay, well, everything's almost there, but I still have to get this up to a 3-star rating. You have to get the island up to 3-star rating. And that's the one that's a little ambiguous, and I guess I'll figure it out. But while I'm at it, let's see, I've already got the house, I've upgraded the size, and I've added 2 rooms, so, you know, progressing fast. Not like world record pace, nowhere near that, but definitely, oh, yeah, Giga's been really sinking the hours into it. And like I said, I actually have 2 games. So I do have one of each of all the fruits. Some of that came from help with my family. Yeah, see, I'm really blanking on words right now. But I think that was actually just them getting me apples. Everything else I managed to get on my own. And one of those tricks is actually having 2 copies of the game, which, if any of y'all have played this, you know it's a good thing because it's a nice thing to have, even though it's kind of an expensive thing, but y'all know me, I'm fucking crazy, so I'll just do whatever I want. This means I can go to my own islands and I can sell my island's fruit on the other island's store to get optimum profit. And at the same time, you know, I was able to reset the second island until its native fruit was one that I didn't already have, which fulfilled almost a complete requirement where I had everything but apples on my own. I think my mom gave me apples. Can't remember anything else, but yeah. But yeah. That's right, I need to figure that out. So, basically, those things for which having somebody else come over and water your roses, for example, which is important for speeding up breeding process, I'll be able to do that once I start doing that. The only problem is, because I can follow the game mechanics that I'm being told to follow with pretty relative ease on a day-to-day basis. So the question is, what do I need to focus on? Do I need to focus on paying off my house so I can add the next room, so I can pay that off and add the next room and pay that off to add the final room? Maybe. I know that I missed an opportunity where I should have interacted with Mabel a little bit earlier, because I know that contributes to final evaluation stuff. But what am I talking about? I'm blanking. But for the most part, the island's neat and forming, and I guess I do have a goal of completing Project K, because after that is when you unlock terraforming, which will allow me to put bridges in the places where I want to put bridges that I currently can't, because the shape of things is, well, for lack of better words, fucking bullshit. But, and I have the second island to help me decide to do stuff. And in particular, one of the nice things is I soft resetted it to get a specific kind of fruit. But you don't know what kind of flower you have unless you can happen to see them on the second and third height way in the back of your island. They're pretty far back and that can be hard to see. But I kind of got lucky, and my flower for the physical copy game, which is my backup game, is roses. And the nice thing about that is I can go on mystery tours, and every once in a while you can get hybrids instead of the basics white, yellow, and reds. And one of the hybrid roses is pretty good for doing blue rose breeding. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start focusing on that as a side project within these games to try to do, because I already have grows of all the fruits, and the bamboo trees haven't grown enough to give me shoots to start growing those in mass. So, you know, lots of stuff to figure out there. So as you can see, I'm focusing intently on it. But I'm also hoping that I will reach a finishing point relatively soonish. Maybe by my next update, but probably not. We'll just have to see. But I'll keep at it. And oh look, there's all the fruits. Oh well, that's probably more than y'all wanted to hear about Animal Crossing. But there's thoughts, and I should wrap this up and start processing the videos. Y'all, have a nice week.